have several different garden plants that most of which I can't name, but this thing appears to be some kind of brome. You can see it's got these pointy awns, long bristly things, a bit like what you see on barley, and they seem to be flowering. If I can just show. Yeah, that's the several of these spikelets are actually flowering, and you can actually see at the bottom there the flower. Grass flowers are often not very special because they don't need to be colourful, because they don't attract insects. I think they call the special name for this is the palea, which has all the feathery, very light seeds. In fact, if I stand back, you can just about make out that quite a lot of them have that same feature underneath. If I can zoom in. Yeah, you get the idea. One thing that we have is this is one of the spurges. Now I'm not going to handle this one because spurges you do have to be cautious with, because some of them are toxic. Some of them have dangerous sap, which can cause problems if it gets into your eyes. But this one, I believe, is called Mediterranean giant spurge, because it is quite. If I put my foot there, I'll show you if I can get an idea of size. Then yeah, that's the sort of thing we're dealing with. It's about half a metre high at best. This one's perhaps not in the best shape because it seems to be lying on the ground for some reason. But you can see that it's quite thick. It's like a small shrub or small tree even. And in the middle here, you've got the flowers, which you know, they have one of these things has a special name called the cyathium. I can't remember which part of the plant that refers to, but spurges are unique. You know, the Euphorbiaceae family, they're unique in that they have flowers structured like this. We also have this, I believe, is some kind of pine. I think it's a lodgepole pine. What you'll notice, a good trick to remembering pines, certainly one that I've been taught that works pretty well for me, is that pines needles are set in pairs. You see where I'm grasping it? There's like a papery sheath at the bottom there. If I take it off, oh well, three seem to be attached to that one. Okay, bad example. Let's try another one. That's a bit more typical. I don't know why we had three stuck together there, but the idea is that different species of pine tend to have their needles paired together like this, whereas spruces, for example, like Sitka spruce, which we have lots of for forestry plantations, which supply a lot of our timber demands, their needles would be set singly. So a good way to remember it is pairs pines, single spruce. And the needles, they seem they're quite long and they're quite twisted, and if I get the hand lens, I'll best demonstrate this somewhere nice. It being a nuisance again. Oh, upside down. So yeah, you can see that it's along the bottom. There's lots of little bluish dots, and I think these are the stomata from the underside of the needles, because one of the things that enable conifers to survive in quite dry and very cold habitats is that they've got needles so that they reduce the surface area of which water can be lost from, and these things on the bottom, these stomata, is where the water is taken in, but it can also be lost through that by evaporation. But having your leaves in needles helps to reduce the surface area of which water can be lost, which is especially valuable in warm climates. You know, there's some conifers that live in warm areas. Plenty of them live in cold areas, but it works equally well for that measure, and that's why, you know, conifers are evergreen. They're they don't have to shed their leaves in winter, because deciduous trees like oaks and sycamores, they have to shed their leaves because they would lose far too much water through them. You know, all it takes is the wind to blow across them and they lose water from the stomata. And the trees simply do away with the fact that there's not nearly so much light in the wintertime, not nearly so much sunlight. So the trees get past this problem by shedding their leaves, but conifers don't need to. I think there are some conifers that do shed their needles, like deciduous trees, but many of them are evergreen, which is why, you know, you can have a nice green Christmas tree at Christmas